you know what the absolute best backpacking gear is? Well, you could listen to someone like me, or you could listen to hundreds, if not thousands, of backpackers, thru hikers, and outdoor enthusiasts. And that's exactly what I did. I gathered all the data I could find about the most popular backpacking gear for sale on the market today. I looked at hiker surveys, I looked at sales data, I looked at online reviews, and tried to find what they all had in common. To the best of my knowledge, this is the absolute best, or at least the most popular backpacking gear you can buy today. So let's check it out. Now, the hiker surveys that I had available to me are all from AT, PCT, and CDT thru hikers. The sales data I had was the best-selling gear from GarageGrownGear.com, who is also a sponsor. And at first I thought, this isn't going to be good because this list is going to skew towards the ultralight. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, it actually might be better. If you think about it, thru hikers are the closest thing that backpacking has to a professional hiker. The gear that they choose to hike with is arguably the best because they're using it day in and day out for months at a time, whereas the stuff that you find at the big box stores is targeted more at a casual hiker. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's all good gear. But what we are asking today is what is the best gear. So let's check it out. Undeniably, the most popular backpacking quilt is from Enlightened Equipment, with all the thru hiking surveys and sales data listing Enlightened Equipment as the most popular brand. But there was a split on which Enlightened Equipment quilt was the best. Both the PCT and the CDT hiker surveys listed the Enlightened Equipment Enigma as the most popular backpacking quilt, whereas the Appalachian Trail survey listed the Revelation, and the sales data shows the Revelation outsells the Enigma by almost 5-1. But which one is the best? Well, both of these quilts are very similar with only one main difference. The Revelation has a cinch foot box where the Enigma has a closed foot box. Everything else, from the pad straps to the insulation to the available temperature ratings, are basically the same. It really seems to come down to personal preference. And I, for one, prefer a closed foot box, mainly because I find it difficult to cinch the foot box all the way closed, leaving a small hole that can let in a draft in cold weather. But if you really like the thought of opening up your quilt to be more like a blanket, especially in warmer weather, you might like the Revelation better. All I can say for sure is you can't go wrong with an Enlightened Equipment quilt. Now, there was no split on the most popular backpacking tent. All three hiker surveys listed the Z-Pax Duplex as the most popular tent, which at first surprised me because when I did my own informal research at this year's Appalachian Trail Days...
So since we had a discussion, I was going to tell you, I did an official count. Okay. And I counted 38 Nemo tents and 45 Durstons.
Oh, okay.
It seemed like the Durston X-Mid was the most prominent tent, but I was counting every type of X-Mid I saw. X-Mid 1, X-Mid 2, the Pro 1, the Pro 2, which might show that the Durston brand is gaining in popularity, but as far as one model of tent, the data shows the Duplex outranks everything. And that makes sense because the Duplex is not only lightweight, but very spacious as long as you only put one hiker in it, which I think is what most hikers are going to do. It's a trekking pole tent, it's made out of Dyneema with 2 doors and 2 vestibules. The only downside is it's not cheap at a whopping $700, which seems like a lot of money, but is pretty typical for ultralight Dyneema tents. The other piece of gear that dominated all the data I looked at was the Thermarest NeoAir NXT. This is sort of the original inflatable sleeping pad, at least the first one to come on the market with good thickness, weight, and R value. It was the very first pad that I ever bought and has been around for decades. It is not the most comfortable sleeping pad in my opinion, and I personally moved away from it years ago, but you can't argue with the data. The X-Lite is 3 inches thick, weighs in at just 1 pound for the regular wide, and has an R value of 4.5. Now, the first piece of gear where we really start to see some competition is the backpack. PCT hikers preferred the ULA Circuit, CDT hikers like the Hyperlight Southwest, and AT and the Garage Grown Gear sales preferred the Gossamer Gear Mariposa. Out of all 3 of these packs, the Mariposa is the one that I would pick for several reasons. One, the Mariposa is much more affordable than the other 2 alternatives, coming in at just $315 or about $40 to $60 cheaper than the other 2 packs. It's super comfortable with nice thick padding and wide shoulder straps. It's lightweight at just 2 pounds and has a lot of pockets to help organize your gear. For the stove, the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 swept all 3 through hiker surveys as the #1 backpacking stove, but sales data shows the BRS 3000 outsells it by quite a bit. The MSR is tried and true and happens to be the very first stove that I ever bought. The BRS is lighter and cheaper, coming in right at an ounce for under $20. Which stove is better is hard to say and probably depends on what's more important to you: brand name gear or saving every gram possible. As for me, I've used them both and would be comfortable taking either one of these stoves into the backcountry. As I mentioned at the start of this video, some of the data I used to compile this list was sales data from Garage Grown Gear. Garage Grown Gear has been a long-time sponsor of this channel, and it would be stupid if I didn't make them a sponsor of this particular video. They are the only retailer I know of that sells only backpacking gear, specializing in cottage and ultralight gear. You might even think of them as the only retailer that sells professional level backpacking gear. Now, I need to say that the rest of this list was fully derived from their sales data, because the hiker surveys only talked about the big things like tents and sleep systems. So for the little things like trowels and headlamps, all I had was sales data. Now that that's out of the way, let's see what's on the list. So, what's the #1 accessory backpackers buy? Well, it's the Canuck Vecto 2-liter bag, and for really good reason. Just about every backpacker I know uses some type of squeeze filter, and most use the Sawyer squeeze, which is a great filter, but the little squeeze bag that they give you with the filter is a piece of junk. It's small, it's hard to fill up, it's cheaply made, and it's probably the whole reason why the Vecto bag exists to begin with, to make filtering water easier. The secret behind its success is the large mouth opening that makes collecting water really simple. Just fill up the bag, push on the slider, and attach a filter to the 28mm thread and squeeze. It's a simple, genius design that thousands of hikers won't hike without. The next top-selling accessory is the Nitecore NB 10000 battery bank. Like it or not, our phones have become part of our backcountry experience, whether we are taking pictures, sending messages through satellite, or navigating with our favorite GPS app. No matter how you use your phone, you're going to need extra battery power on the trail, and the lightest, most compact battery bank is the NB 10000. It's a 10,000 milliamp hour power bank that is smaller than your phone, yet can charge it 2 to 3 times easily. It's made with lightweight carbon fiber and weighs only 5.29 ounces. Selling almost as well as a Nitecore battery bank is the Thermodrop thermometer. If you've ever wondered how cold it is or how cold it got last night, you should check out this awesome little thermometer. It not only shows you the current temperature, but records both the high and the low temperature, so you can know exactly how cold it got even when you were asleep. This is really great, especially if you are pushing the limits of your gear. Let's say that you brought a 30-degree bag, but you felt cold. You can look back at your thermometer and see if it actually got down to the temperature rating on your sleeping bag, and if it did, you can know it wasn't the gear, it was the conditions. Then you have the Nitecore NU25 headlamp. This has long been the lightest headlamp available. In fact, it used to be just 1 ounce, including the strap, and people would cut off the strap to make it even lighter using elastic cord instead. Nitecore took notice, and now they sell a version of the NU25 with the elastic cord already included. The only dumb thing about it is the newest version is still heavier at 1.5 ounces with the elastic cords. Why they would do that, I have no idea, but even so, you're still going to be hard pressed to find a better headlamp that weighs less. Then last on the best-selling list is the Bogler trowel. This really is one of the most comfortable trowels available today. It used to be pretty common to see the deuce of spades, but if you've ever used one of those, it digs into your hand almost as much as it's digging into the ground. But Ben Bogler, who makes these trowels, added this small little piece of plastic up on the top that prevents the trowel from digging into your hand. And this trowel weighs less than half an ounce. It really is the best trowel you can buy today. Okay, so that is the most popular backpacking gear being sold today. I'll put links down in the description to the surveys that I used if you want to take a look. If there was something that wasn't on this list but you think it should, let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and do all those other things. And as always, thanks for watching.